So welcome to another conversation for the Millionairess magazine and the Millionairess movement. I'm Amanda Jane Clarkson, Editor-in-Chief, and today I'm delighted to be joined by the very inspiring and elegant Joan Kelley Walker. From humble beginnings, Joan learned from a young age the power of goal-orientated hard work in the name of making a difference. And over time, Joan has translated her love of reading and storytelling and crafted what will become her sensational career in the media, spanning from writing as a journalist to broadcasting, hosting, producing, a TV personality, voiceovers, being a mum, and launching her Joan Kelley Walker Collection, Fashion That Gives Back. And as well as all that, Joan's commitment and love of philanthropic work has seen her become a passionate and generous supporter of World Vision for more than 15 years. And she has a visible impact in places like Mozambique, Cambodia, and Rwanda. Truly an incredibly inspiring life. Welcome to the Millionairess magazine, Joan. We so appreciate you sharing your time with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love the movement that you've created, and I just think we're all better together. So thank you for connecting such like-minded people.
Thank you. So we've only touched on a snippet of incredible stories so far. Where you sit today, share a little bit about your story. How did you get to where you are today?
Oh my goodness. Well, I grew up in a very small town of about 200 people. My dad was a grain farmer, and, I was one of those kids with all these big dreams, but no way to get there. There was no mentors. People thought maybe that I was, a little big-headed because I wanted to do more and be more. But it really gave me a sense of community, which I think is also very powerful. So fast forward, I moved to the big city to follow my dreams. I became a model. I started working in media. I had a lot of different jobs. I just wanted to be in the business so bad that I would not really take anything, but, I worked as the coffee person on movie sets. I did hair and makeup for a long time on videos and commercials and things, just so that I could learn. And I kind of climbed my way up, that the whole ladder in media. And so still to this day, I have a radio show that's also a podcast. I contribute to several different magazine publications. And then all of a sudden, the Real Housewives of Toronto just kind of came and fell in my lap. And I was very private before that. But once like a really big international show like that comes along, you have to make a decision. How are you going to manage this? And that opened a lot of doors for me and gave me a bigger voice. And I decided, what am I going to do with this? I want to do some good with this. My husband and I are philanthropists, and I wanted to shine light on all the causes that we had been supporting, and I wanted to help people. And I thought, this is a great way to do it, but how do I do it? So then I started a fashion brand that gives back. So it kind of pulls it all together: my love for fashion, my love for philanthropy, my entrepreneurial spirit. And so here I am today.
Wow, what an incredible story, all meshed into about a minute. It's an incredible, you have an incredible history, and there is so much pushed into that short amount of time because I can see that you're still very young. How have all these experiences shaped your life of who you've become today?
Oh, wow. Well, I think like everyone, you learn when you fall down, you learn from mistakes. I've certainly not had a direct path. And I learned to really rely on my mentors, and I learned to seek them because, I always thought mentors would just sort of present themselves and you'd get in a job and you'd have a good leader, but that's not necessarily the case. So you have to take what you can from whoever you can at the opportunity that is presented. Like when I was working originally on film sets, I didn't know what anybody was doing and the whole technology of it, but I would sit there and I would watch and observe and I would ask questions. And, stupid questions probably, but I would say like, what are you doing? And most of the time people were really willing to walk me through it. And that's how I learned. And I worked my way. Eventually I was producing and directing myself, and I still have a production company. but that's how it's done. And now if somebody asks me, what are you doing? How are you doing it? I always take the time to share as much as I can, because that's a really, really important tool for all of us to keep learning and evolving.
I love that you've touched on mentorship, because it's been a massive part of my life since I was very young, as a runner, and had mentors my whole life. And I talk about it a lot with our women, and yet so many women don't feel deserving of a mentor, but more unfortunate than that, they don't believe they need a mentor. So let's talk about that for a moment. How has mentorship shaped your life and helped you elevate your life to become in the position that you've become today?
Well, I think the first mentors for me were definitely my parents, because they taught me compassion. And, in a small town, you get that kind of like humble mentality. And I think that's really where everything sprang from me, because I am a very compassionate person, and I do care about helping other people, and I care about people's stories and their situations. So I think that was the primary mentor that I had. But then the people that did go out of their way to take the time to help me and teach me, like on movie sets or commercials, or like even if it's just a conversation that you have with, like in Housewives, the executive producer, I would call up and I'd be in tears about something that, I'd be so concerned about. And just them taking the time to walk me through it, let me know that they care, because a lot of times people, I think, feel alone. And mentorship means to me that, not that they've necessarily walked the same path that you're going to be walking, but they care what path you're on. And so then people don't feel alone, and then they do see the value of mentorship. So they're more willing to ask the questions and to ask for help, and to recognize that there is help out there, and that we all still have so much to learn.
Oh, absolutely. This journey never ends, does it? And so being in the public space, being a public figure, I've no doubt you've had to overcome your own challenges. We have the criticism, because you can't please everyone. There's two sides of life. And, a lot of women fear putting themselves out there, especially as an entrepreneur, because they're frightened of the naysayers, the people who want to pull them down. What would be your encouragement or your advice around that, being in that position so many times?
Yeah, you see so much of it. And I think you just have to be so careful and so sensitive. And when Housewives first started airing, we did have some really mean bloggers that were like saying just horrible things. Like, why would somebody take the time to sit there and do that? But it wasn't just me, it was everybody. And I'm very careful on all social media channels that I'm only positive. I don't react to things. I don't get in the middle of a heated argument. And, I don't know how it is. And yes, I've had my own fair share of those negative comments, but I try to just step over it, see it for what it is. And if I ever were to comment back, it would be something like, I'm sorry you're having a bad day, because why else would you possibly take the time to come up with that? So I try and look at the bigger picture of it, even though sometimes you feel like you're getting stabbed in the heart or your gut or something.
Yeah.
But, it's part of life. And, you just have to move on. That's all you can do.
Exactly. I've found that it's best just not to dwell on it, to read it. I don't even look at it. Because, that's just life, and it just comes with whether you do or don't, you're damned in some cases. So just move through it. I think that, with women watching this incredible conversation, they want to get on with their life. They want to create something amazing and leave a legacy like you're creating, but they're so frightened and they wear this mask. What would you say to the women who they don't feel that they can be their authentic self? They're so frightened of, the perception of what other people will say about them. How do you feel about being authentic these days in business and in life?
Oh, well, I don't think you're going to do anything that you want to do unless it comes from your heart, unless you lead with your heart and your intuition. I think it's very, very powerful to start with that, because if you've set a goal that doesn't lead with your heart, it's going to be that much harder and that many more roadblocks. So I think you really, really have to be honest with yourself and be really transparent with yourself, and then talk it out with your friends and your mentors and people that you surround yourself with that are supportive. And, because there's a lot of jealousy out there, and people can tear you down really quickly. So you have to be careful who you share your intimate feelings with, of, your own insecurities and your goals. Even sometimes if you're talking about a goal and it gets into the wrong people listening to it, they can try and dissuade you because they don't really understand it and it's not their goal. So, I think you have to truly be honest with yourself first, and then things should fall into place better. Like, how many people do we know that have completely changed course because something didn't go right and they realized, okay, that wasn't actually right in my heart, and then they switch and they go on to something that's better.
Yeah, I love what you're saying here. So self-awareness is what you're suggesting. And it goes back to what we were talking about, mentorship, sharing your goals and dreams with people who want for you what you want for you. I've learned by trial and error, I'm very careful who I share things with, because people don't get it. They don't get your dreams. They don't have to, but that's what I love about mentorship, the encouragement, because I've no doubt being with you and all the experiences that you've had days where you've just woken up and you don't want to face the world, or you've fallen down in a decision you've made. How do you pick yourself back up, Joan, on those days where you go, oh my God, this is hard road?
Yeah, well, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
For me, I have to get my workout in every day. If I don't,
Me too.
It's funny. I do, I love yoga and I love, stretching and that, but I've found now lately, especially with COVID, I need to do more explosive movements. So I get on my treadmill for about an hour and a half. I turn on a show. That's my TV time. And it just keeps me going. And I run a bit, I walk a bit. I don't like say I have to do 10 miles in this time frame or I don't feel good. It's just, this is my time. This is what I'm doing. And so that helps. The other thing that I've observed that I find is really powerful for me is to take the time to do your hair, put on some makeup, put on something you feel nice in. Because if you're just walking around in track pants all day or your pajamas, that's not empowering. Like, yes, we've all done it, wearing, leisure wear, as there's nothing wrong with that, but take just 5 minutes and do something to make yourself feel better. And it really does work.
I agree with you. We are on the same page. I was on my treadmill at 4:15 this morning because I've got my own home.
Good for you.
But I have the big TV screen and I usually put something empowering on. I was watching Super Soul Sunday this morning with Oprah. And like I say to the ladies, especially in a time like we're living, have a shower, do your hair, put something on that is empowering for you. Because I call my workout gear my magic outfit, because you just feel different with different clothes, as you would know, being a fashion icon. But it's about making an effort. What would you say to people who come up with all the excuses? I haven't got time, because you are one busy lady that have every excuse under the sun that they don't have a morning routine where they are self-empowering.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You wouldn't have time for anything else if you don't have time for yourself. That's number one. You have to make that happen. And, it's hard. People are busy and you're running after kids and dogs and, and all of a sudden your husband's home full time, which is, just another layer, which is great. But, things right now are shifting and evolving really quickly.
Let's switch gears a little bit. We talk about philanthropic work, and I know it is so close to your heart. Let's go back to the time in your life where you knew that you were going to do something with your life that included giving back, making a difference, empowering others. Can you share a little bit about that time and walk us through?
My husband had been sponsoring a lot of kids through World Vision Canada, but they're sponsoring kids all around the world. And when I met him, it really piqued my curiosity. What are you doing? How are you doing that? This was probably like 24 years ago. So that's, I think, what started the whole thing. But once the Real Housewives happened, and I was trying to like blend my love of fashion and philanthropy, and I decided to create the Joan Kelley Walker Collection, which was available at Walmart, which is a great place because I wanted every woman to be able to have a designer label that they can feel proud of, that's great quality and beautiful designs, that is not going to break the bank. So that's how that came about. But more important for my brand, every profit that I made, like, you know, people have to get paid and there's expenses, but the profits were given to charity. And in this case, it was Breakfast Club of Canada, which feeds kids. And with COVID now, they've like doubled the need of kids that are coming to breakfast programs in Canada. So it's really essential. And the statistics that go around with that are like, you know, when a kid has a proper breakfast, they learn better, there's less dropout, there's a greater attention span, there's less bullying, like there's so many layers to it. So now things have evolved and I'm taking my brand in a new direction. And speaking of loungewear and leisure wear and workout wear, that's what I'm focusing on because I really believe you can dress it up and look and feel great in it. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm taking it more on an international stage. And instead of just partnering with one charity, there'll be a conglomeration of charities to go along with that.
Wow, congratulations. It sounds super exciting. I'm going to
you.
check out the
Yes.
workout wear.
Yeah.
Because I like to, you know, dress as best as I can anywhere I am. And these days, everybody gets out and about in their active wear, don't they? I don't know what it's like where you live, but certainly where I live, everybody wears it all day long.
Yeah, so do we. Definitely.
Yeah.
But you can definitely dress it up. You can put high heels with your, you know, with your tights and still look fabulous.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Even if you're at home, ladies, you can get around. My husband calls me the centipede because I have too many pairs of shoes. I've got so and he said to me once, you cannot buy any more shoes until you've worn every pair at least 3 times. So I get around the house with a different pair of heels on, 1 time, 2 times.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a centipede, then I'm definitely a centipede. And apparently I'm an octopus too, because I have a lot of handbags to go with all the shoes.
Well, of course, being a fashion guru like you are, I can imagine. So that's really exciting. So blending philanthropic work with being an entrepreneur, how important do you believe it is to give back as you build an empire? Because this is about business and making a difference in other people's lives. How important do you believe is to blend the two?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, that's clearly what it's all about. This is my entire focus right now. And I'm trying to encourage people to do what they can, how they can, whenever they can. Like, it doesn't have to be a big check or a grand gesture, just something small, like even opening the door for someone, or, you know, giving to a local charity or a food bank, or, you know, just something. I think if every business kept that in their mind when they were setting themselves up or having that as a goal, I just think we'd be so much better off. But even things that don't cost money are really helpful. Like on my Instagram, I have Giving Tuesdays, where we focus entrepreneurs, mostly women driven, anyone that has a charitable component, people that are, you know, challenged with other challenges. And we just feature them just to pass the word on and, you know, help generate their business or hope, you know, support what they're doing and support their charity and drive interest there. And, you know, there's no money involved. So it's really not about the money. It's about the spirit and the heart to heart of it, and understanding what people are you know, trying to accomplish and how they're getting there. So I think, you know, there's so many different ways to look at this. Yes, money is very important in philanthropy, but things have changed a great deal. Like everybody used to go to the big galas and the big fancy dinners, and the expenses with that were so high that, what percent was actually left over to go to the charity. So that was a concern for me. And that was one of the reasons why I started the brand, is because, I want to do something that's new and innovative. And I think I've only heard of one other person that I'm aware of that was doing something similar in fashion where 100% of their profits was going to a charity. So I guess that's my biggest lofty goal, is maybe some other brands can do that as well, or at least have one product or something.
Yeah, I just love how you've blended it, and it's just such a big part of your life, because it's like you've got a cause bigger than yourself. And on those days where sometimes we, as an entrepreneur, we just don't feel like doing the miles, when you think about the reason why you're doing it, it just keeps you going. Is that kind of how you feel as well?
Oh, for sure. Things are changing so quickly. It's like nothing surprises me anymore. And really, I don't say no. I just say, okay, how am I going to do that? I think that's like the truest entrepreneur is, you don't really know all the details. There's maybe not a direct way to get there, but you don't say no. And you just know that you'll be able to figure it out. And, it may not be what you expected it to be, but it might take you to a better place. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a woman like yourself, you wear so many different hats, so much stuff going on. You said you're a wife and a mum and all the entrepreneur stuff, the philanthropic stuff. What do you love the most? When you pick anything you want to do all day, what is it that you really just love doing?
Oh my goodness. Wow. I think it's the variety. I think it's having gone through so many facets of this industry, and it's also fascinating to me. Like the radio show is great. Writing for a magazine is great. Like the fact that somebody, just for me to sit down and write it, I find is so therapeutic. And I just love pouring words out on a page. And then, if people read it, that's amazing. And if people comment, that's even more amazing. But really, I do it because it's fueling me. So I think the answer would definitely be the variety. How about you? What do you find?
I'm a little bit like you, but I think I really light up when I'm doing this kind of work, when I'm educating people, mentoring women. But, I've had mentors my whole life. There's so many ups and downs as an entrepreneur, many failures, some successes. But when I truly light up, it is through giving back, inspiring others. I just love it. I could do it all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're very inspirational. So thank you.
Oh, as you are. And women watching this would just be going, oh, wow, look at Joan Kelley. She's just so beautiful. How does she do it all? What are you, a quick overview? What is your day? How do you start your day? Do you have a routine to stay in shape, be as beautiful as you are, but from the inside out? This is not just about the outside, but you are truly a lighthouse. I can feel it and I can see that.
Oh, thank you.
Let's walk that line.
Yeah. So let's see. We have puppies right now. I have 4 dogs. I have 2 older dogs, and then we just got these puppies. So things are a little crazy for the last couple months. So some nights I sleep, some nights I don't. So I get up and I usually have a coffee. So that's like right out of the gate. Start with that. And then I come and sit in my office here and I just figure out what I need to do that day. Sometimes I'm very happy when I don't have that much to do. And then I spend more time with my family, cooking, grocery shopping. I have one son who's doing university, but he's not living there. He's living at home because everything's online. So that's really nice. My husband's here. My other son is at university. So every day is different. I'm not one of these hard routine people. Like I work out at 6 a.m. I can't do that. I will get my workout in, that's for sure. And usually by about probably 8 o'clock at night, it's like time to have a bath and wind down. So I start with my coffee and with my bath. And then in between, a puppy thing, who knows?
What sort of puppies have we got?
Well, my other 2, I have a shepherd and a lab, so they're big dogs. And then I got 2 little tiny dogs, a little teacup Pomeranian and a Morkie, which is, she's white and she's about 5 pounds.
Oh, how gorgeous. I think animals just Make you stay humble. Would you agree with that? I've got a couple.
Yes.
I've got one
Yeah.
sitting under my chair here. And
Oh,
you go from sitting in a seat like this to picking up doggy poo off the lawn. It keeps you
yeah.
humble.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I'm like, what was I thinking? But they're
Oh,
so worth it though. I went to visit my mom yesterday and the whole time I was thinking, oh, I'm missing those puppies.
oh, so do I. I just love animals, and they're so innocent and so they just love you. Doesn't matter what you look like, what you smell like, what you say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unconditional love. There's nothing else like unconditional love. And I think it's good for the heart and the soul.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
Yeah.
cuddles. And my
Little
other dogs are
cuddles.
too big for cuddling. So these two are the cuddlers.
Oh, they'll get straight under your skin, and next thing they'll be beside you on the bed, and oh God, it's dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would.
They're already doing that.
You already do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I'm never having animals on the bed. And there they are.
Same. Very attractive, very attractive. So,
Yeah.
Joan Kelley, before we get wrapped up here, I've got just a couple of more questions. But do you have any advice for women watching this who just thinks, wow, she's got the life, she's got it all. I would love to begin my journey of being an entrepreneur, being able to give back and having that impact in other people's lives as you do. What advice would you give to these women?
Well, I think following you and Millionairess magazine and honestly, any source of positivity and guidance and direction, read the self-help books. You don't even have to, follow what they're suggesting necessarily, but you will glean a couple things. So I think that's really important. Sit down with a pen and paper, write your plan, write your to-do list. You have to be organized and you have to be accountable to yourself. So, I'm not always like, my desk is not perfect. And like, sometimes I mess up things too, but you have to do it as much as you can for yourself. So, and then seeking out mentors wherever they present themselves, however they present themselves. If you seek, then they will come. So look for it and ask people. Like, you don't have to be with a mentor for a long time. Even just, one conversation can really spark an idea. I think that's really important.
This is
And
gold
also,
advice.
just stay positive.
Yeah.
Like, don't follow negative things on social media. Don't get so caught up in all the bad news all the time. Look at the positive things and find joy in people that are doing good in the world.
And it
Like you
sounds to
are.
me like it's important who you surround yourself with. What would you say about that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And, people don't have to be, hugely successful or anything. I mean, the people that I spend a lot of time with are my mom, who's she's had a stroke and she's certainly got a lot of challenges and frailty, but the unconditional love that she just beams it's healing. It's beautiful to be around her, and not just me, just other people have also mentioned that. So I think, surround yourself with positivity in whatever form that is. If it's a pet that makes you feel really special, then that's great. If it's a friend, if it's a magazine, if it's a book, or someone that you follow on Instagram that's really positive, as long as it uplifts you, I think that's a responsibility that we all should have to ourselves.
I love the goal that you've just shared there, because the advice that you've given, anybody and everybody can do it. It's not expensive, it's not difficult, and you've given some really grounded advice, especially for an entrepreneur. And rarely do I have conversations where people talk about self-helps, which might be my whole life for 30 years. Do you have any specific books that has impacted your life that you would love to share with us?
Oh my goodness. You should see my bedside table right now. It's like, I don't know how many books are piled on there. And then I put them in
Love
the
it.
drawers, and then I have some in the cupboard. And you can
Wow.
tell if I really enjoyed it if I keep the book. Most of the time I sort of
Same.
read it, take what I want from it and pass it on to somebody. I'm reading one right now called You Are a Badass. And I actually
Ooh.
got a copy of it to my goddaughter, who's in her teens. And, it's hard to be a teenage girl sometimes. So that book spoke to me, and it also spoke to her. So there's that. Oh, jeepers, I can't even think of anything else. As soon as we're done here, I'll think, I should have said that. I should have said that.
Exactly. But it's just the fact that
anything by Brene Brown. Yeah.
Yes.
Brene Brown is really great as well.
I think the mere fact that you mentioned it, I'm a really big on education. Just because we went to school till we was 16 or 18, I think education only begins when we leave school.
Yes. Yeah. And I think you learn, well, I mean, both my sons are in university. I'm very happy for that. But I think my older son, who's in third year university, he had a business this summer. And I think they probably learn more from doing that business than, he's applying what he's learned at university. But I think, when it gets right down to it and you have to make every decision, I think that's really good for them, for everybody.
Well, as an entrepreneur, you know what it's like. You'll be making decisions every moment of every day, and they are going to have an outcome either way. So there's nothing like being in the trenches, is there?
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with, if it doesn't go well, or you don't make money, or you break even, there's still so much value there.
I think that's why so many people don't get started. They're so worried about the outcome not going the right way. And I'd love to get your take on it. I just say it's like wearing different jackets in life, being a fashion icon as you are. Some jackets fit for one season, some then don't fit, or they're out of season. And it's not something to be embarrassed about or something that defines you. What do you say about different things that haven't worked out for you?
Oh boy. Well, let's see. I think all of those roads, even though at the time I felt like they didn't work out, I think they led me to where I am. I had a bikini company, Bikini and Cover Ups, that, I was partnered with a girlfriend, and people to this day still ask, hey, do you have any more of that? Cascada Blue was the name of the company. And it was beautiful and fashionable, but we were lacking in certain areas of the business. And now I really recognize that. So we had a couple of pillars of strength, but we were missing the other ones that we needed. So that was really good. And I had another production company that I had partnered with two other women, and I'm certainly not blaming anyone, but the expectations weren't clearly defined going into it. So there too, I learned so much and how to exit certain things. And now when I look at a contract, one of the first things I look at is the exit strategy. So it's just, the little things that you pick up along the way. And also I'm very proud, I want my kids to see their mom doing stuff for herself. I don't want to, I want them to see me as being dynamic and, smart enough to still get out there and make things happen.
What you just shared is invaluable then. Thinking about going into business, who you're going into business with, each other's values and what you perceive is going to happen, but then most importantly, exit. So many of us, and I've been guilty of this many times, have forgotten to think about the exit strategy. So just those two little pieces of advice is incredibly invaluable, and I really appreciate you sharing this. I love having conversations with entrepreneurial women who just give that tiny little golden nugget that so many of us just skip because we don't know about it until we've done it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is you don't know until you do it, and then you won't make that same mistake again. One of my friends went and got her real estate license.
Yeah.
And she went through all that. She did really well in the course. She said she learned more from buying and selling her first house than she did from all of that big course.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to learn to do by doing.
And I think that's a great message here, is just get going with it and stop analyzing it and waiting for the perfect moment, because as a woman and an entrepreneur, there's no perfect moment. Just move.
Yes. Yeah. And also the thing that I find, one other thing is interesting. It's like all of this is sort of coming together and is happening to me now at this point in my life. And, I would have thought before I had my kids, when I was just, working full time, that that would have been kind of like the pinnacle of my career. But since then, I mean, things have just kind of like gone up in big steps like this. So like never say never and never discount yourself, and you're never too old, and throw out all those non-essential numbers like, your age, your weight, your bank account. Like you don't need those things. Just,
I love what you
we
said.
are, all we have is right here, right now, and today. So if you want to do that thing, then do it.
That's just beautiful what you said, because so many women define themselves as, I'm just a mum, or I'm just this, or I'm just that. But what you just shared then is that as we grow and our values change, then it's never too late. If you have a goal or a dream, just get going on it. I love that. No matter your age, your background, or your education. Yeah. So Jane, I've got to ask you, what specifically would you love to be known and remembered for?
Let's see. Well, you know what? I think just for being myself, and for just for that exact thing, for keeping going and always being receptive and open. I think, that's all it is. I don't want to be known for, I mean, yes, my business, but I define me, not an external force. So I think just for me. Maybe that's a weird answer. I don't know, but
Oh, it's beautiful. You're still living, and you're living your legacy now, and you are a lighthouse for so many millions of women and guys, I've no doubt. And I just appreciate your time and this conversation so very much. Where can we find out more about Joan Kelley Walker clothing line, fashion line, and what you're doing next, and any last pieces of, I guess, advice that you'd love to share?
Well, let's see. Instagram is always a good tool. It's Joan Kelley Walker Official. My website is joankellywalker.com. Yeah, and things are just sort of like exploding a little bit right now. I'm, just waiting to get my product, and I have a fashion collective that's whirling around in here that I'm working on right now to try and get that rolled out, which also has the big give back component. Yeah, so that's happening, and I'm still shining a light on whatever charities that I can, however I can. Yeah, that's sort of how I'm spending my time.
Well, I think that's plenty. You are really having a massive impact and shining the light on others, as I said, and that's what life is about. And I just want to say thank you so much, because you've been an integral part of the Millionairess movement, and this conversation, I've no doubt, will inspire hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And I just appreciate you being part of it. And I hope that in time we meet again. I've really enjoyed this time together today.
Me too. Thank you so much. Honestly, it's really humbling to be here, and I really do appreciate all the work that you're doing and bringing people together like this. And thank you for, shining a light on what I'm doing. I really, truly am touched by that.
Oh, well, I believe that together we can elevate each other and our self-worth, because it's a global stage, and this is just a way to help women become more empowered and to get out there and shine their light on others. So again, I thank you, and who knows where we may meet in time again. And I look forward to seeing your conversation in our magazine and the lives that it impacts. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Have
a wonderful, wonderful day.
You too, beautiful. Enjoy your evening, and I'll talk to you again.